to Ina Bear Farm. I'm going to do a semi-full tour of the food forest for you today. This is close to the 1-year anniversary of when we started clearing and putting things in the ground. So I'll be telling you a little bit about the project as we go. It'll be kind of a longer video. Hopefully you will enjoy. We'll start right here with our new turmeric planting along this little hillside. We just did a shorter video talking about how we did that, so go back and check it out if you're interested. You can see a few little turmeric that we transplanted in there that seem to be happy. Banana circle down there, these are the full-size apple bananas that are really common in Hawaii, with a lot of woody debris and mulch and grass and things piled up at the base to feed them. They are heavy feeders. To the right here we've got ginger growing along this fence with a little bit of a Gliricidia overstory there. In the background, a mountain apple tree that was planted before a year ago, obviously. It's been producing a lot of mountain apples this year. And we did put some coffee in the understory right next to that. So as we shift back, this was one of the first trees that we planted on the property. It's a Satsuma tangerine. Been doing pretty well. And we've just kind of slowly continued to clear out around it and put in some more diverse plantings. We've got a little ground cover of mint here. Really happy comfrey. Put in the red la'i tea leaf along the path there. We've got this, this is the Mexican sunflower, the smaller flowering variety. Really good for pollinators. And so yeah, we've seen a lot of good growth on this guy for 1 year. As we head through the main path, it's early in the morning, so there'll be some shadows, but at least it'll be quiet wind-wise. Got some pentas flower here along the path, some yarrow, some more Gliricidia along this fence. Now this is a little katuk plant. If you're familiar with that, it's edible leaves. It's pretty fast growing. My plant has been doing this weird thing where the leaves, particularly the older ones, curl up and they just don't look so hot. And I cannot figure out exactly why. So if you have any advice on the katuk, throw that in the comments section. We feed it with good fertilizers. You keep it well watered. It's in kind of morning shade. It gets afternoon sun. That's the one thing. I'm not sure. Maybe it gets a little bit too hot in the afternoon. Could be it. So we'll try to transplant some of it. You can do cuttings from that pretty easily, and we'll see how it does in another location. But if you have any other helpful advice, definitely let me know. This is a monkey pod I grew from seedling that is over my head now. Fast growing nitrogen fixer we're going to use for shade and a little chop and drop eventually. One of our Jaboticaba, another one of the first things we planted because they just take so long to grow. And it's just inching along, doing its thing. As we head further down, got things like other bananas as support trees, monkey pods. Dotted in between some of these, they're not big enough to see right now, are one type of Leucaena, two types of Leucaena, and some Kauaia trees. Kauaia is a local nitrogen fixer, kind of a bigger tree. Here we've got another Jaboticaba that's a little more bushy, but again, just kind of inching along. Little Cuban oregano in the foreground there. This is a black cane sugar. And this was all sugar plantation at one point. It's kind of a neat throwback up the hill a few feet. Here's a little guild where we've got, this is a rambutan that was planted from seed. So it's been doing pretty well, less than a year of growth. Sweet potato ground cover, pigeon pea, and comfrey. And so this is a really common combination that we use here. The pigeon pea is, what do you say, upwind. So it is supposed to block some of the wind from hitting the rambutan. This is a really windy site. So you see the pigeon pea being down slope towards the ocean from a lot of our fruit trees is a common strategy we use here to block a little bit of the wind. This is Kahalu'u avocado, and it's just been doing really well. It's put on a ton of growth. It was so tiny when we planted it. Doesn't seem to mind the wind. I think it's kind of definitely in a perfect spot in terms of soil and temperature and all that. Really doing well. As we keep heading out, this is one of our MacNuts, the 344. You can see a little more comfrey up there. MacNuts seem to grow pretty well here. Don't have to do too much to them. Shifting back this way. Here's one of the first Rollinias that we planted. So it's getting a good size. It's a funky tree. It grows sort of two-dimensionally. So finally we're seeing a little bit more three-dimensional growth there, but we'll see. Doing okay though, and then down slope you can see pigeon pea and then a Mexican sunflower. That's the Diversiflora, the one that gets really big and woody. So again, that'll be like a really good windscreen. And the pigeon pea we've talked about a lot. These are some bigger ones that have been in the ground for a while, and these are not even that big. We have some in our front that are maybe 8 feet high and super thick. They make a really good fast-growing windscreen. They do grow an edible bean. Check them out. That plant is probably the one of two things that I would do differently if I could do all this over again. I would plant hundreds of these upon arrival before doing anything else, because they grow so fast, so well, and they're just so beneficial for the soil and everything else. So if you're in Hawaii, go big with the pigeon peas when you're starting a food forest. The other one is Gliricidia, especially from seed. It just grows so fast. It's just been really successful here. I would do a lot more of that. This is a black sapote with a little guild around it of watermelon. You can see there's a couple melons growing in there. Another one over there hiding in the grass. Some comfrey, yarrow, and then sun hemp. This is another one that you really could just plant as much of this as you like. Start clearing grass, planting sun hemp, pumping in nitrogen, beautiful flowers, lots of good chop and drop material. Good plant. This black sapote is another thing that if you have any words of wisdom on, could be helpful. I have searched and searched and I really have not found much about this, but we get this like black stuff on the stems and the leaves, and you can see a lot of holes shoot in the leaves. That's kind of newer. The black stuff has been there for quite some time. If you scrape it with your fingernail, it comes off. The closest thing I've maybe found to it is like sooty mold, but it seems to grow just as much during the hot, dry summer as it does in the cooler, damp winter. This is a windy site. It is the only plant out here that's affected by it. So I just don't know. I mean, it could be fungus, but it just seems so particular to this plant. So let me know if you think of anything with that, and we'll try out any remedies. We do spray things with neem oil from time to time to try to diminish the bug damage. I really don't notice great results from that, and in some cases with that plant in particular, maybe it even has harmed it. But this is a dwarf Zeman jackfruit. It's doing pretty well. It sheds a lot of leaves, but constantly grows more. So I don't know if that's just its growth habit. It's just constantly like out with the old, in with the new. And it does get kind of like a spotting on the leaves. So this is really different from the other plant we were just looking at, but like something, if I can get focus on that, something like that. Probably fungal, but it doesn't seem to harm the overall plant growth. This thing really just grows and grows and grows, so I'm kind of rolling with it at the moment. This is an interesting plant. This is Pohinahina, a native plant plant here. It sort of works as a little low shrubby ground cover. Really pretty flowers. It's kind of gone more to seed at this point, but it's a good one. There's a coconut. Can't have a tropical garden without coconut. And this is a tiny little lychee planted from seed that, it looks a lot better than it did just a few days ago. We just came and did a spray of liquid fish and seaweed. So it seems to have benefited from that. Upslope of a lot of my plants now, I've done some plantings of Leucaena that are new. So this was just from a local plant nearby that was really thriving. So I'm hoping those will grow quickly, create some afternoon shade for a lot of the trees, and then some good chop and drop for later on. Up here is a guild around our mango. This was another one of the first things we planted here, because we love mangoes. It's supposed to be a fungus resistant variety because they are susceptible to that in this area. And it's just growing like a beast. This thing just will not stop. It puts on new leaves almost all year round. It's amazing. It was about that size when I planted it. So all of that in less than a year. Or I'm sorry, almost exactly a year. Incredible. This is some kind of bean that I got from some farmers nearby. It will climb, but it also works as a great ground cover and of course fixes nitrogen. Got the coleus flower, just a beautiful specimen for crowding out weeds, and some zinnia for bringing in some pollinators and some beauty. So this is kind of how we do it. We dug out a small circle, planted our tree, we kind of keep widening the circle as the tree grows. We brush cut the grass with a weed whacker and a brush cutting attachment, and then we just pile up that guinea grass underneath the trees as mulch. We also feed our trees rabbit manure and then the liquid fertilizers like I just mentioned a moment ago. Got a few of these other apple bananas around for fruit / biomass shade. Here's a white sapote. We had this one as a seedling, and then I've got a couple growing from seed. Doing okay. Grows really fast and then seems to get worn out, so maybe have to stay on the fertilizer a little bit more. And a ice cream bean over here. Another thing I would do is really try harder to find ice cream bean seeds and just grow as many as I can from seed, because they are fast growing, awesome trees. As you can see, it's a beautiful morning out here on the Big Island. Had rain for the last few days, so things are greening up quite a bit. Down here is our ulu or breadfruit. This is the Ma'afala variety. And it's been doing really well. It's kind of recently changing shape from more of like a shrubbier, bushier form to more tree-like. It's kind of cool to watch. And now we can see like the separate branches coming off from the main trunk and forming into more of a tree. And out in this patch, got a few other guilds. You got a little tiny rambutan from seed over there, some more banana. I'll show you. This is a Leucaena variety that we've also planted that for the most part hasn't done very well. I'll show you one that did do well, but most of them are just super slow and kind of pathetic. Definitely not up to like the pigeon pea. So like this pigeon pea was planted after that. It's already 3 feet tall. A little comfrey down there, some sweet potato, another familiar guild around this Verlinia growing from seed here. And then upslope, we've got some of this new Leucaena planted. Now this is a different variety. this one I'm hoping will perform a little bit better. And then all the way up, we have this world's saddest looking abiyu. Yeah, this thing, I don't know, it's been taking a beating from the wind. We're trying to get some windbreak to grow. It just, I don't know, it seems to take a beating from everything. So we'll see. It really hasn't done much since we originally planted it. All right, I'm gonna catch back up with you in a second here. Okay, so this is a noni plant, really cool tropical plant with a lot of medicinal properties. And I have never tasted it, but it has one of the funkiest smells and tastes of a lot of different kinds of fruit. This is an area you may have seen on previous videos where we're eventually going to build a nice pond feature with a little waterfall, and so it's kind of been left open. As we get across to the other side, we have star apple. It's doing okay. It didn't seem to want to grow much in the summer, but now it's starting to put on new leaves, so hopefully we'll see a new flush of growth and it'll pretty up quite a bit. Just down from that is the Lolu palm. This is one of the endemic Hawaiian palms. I think might be the only one. Maybe there's some palm experts out there, but it's a really beautiful palm. Gets pretty tall and really neat. So we're not just growing fruit trees out here. We're trying to put in a few specimen things for habitat and other uses. And as we head towards, we're sort of zigzagging back on one of the lower paths. We've got another mango. This is a different variety. It really just sat and sat for a while and then has grown a foot or more in the last month or so. So we're stoked to see it finally on the move. And the wind's already picking up. Another little soursop down there from seed. This was the original MacNut that we planted. Doing quite well. Again, not too much fuss needed for those around here. This area will eventually be a lot of crop planting, interplanted with some perennial things. And then I won't walk you all the way around, but just kind of point out, so like in these lower areas, we've got two more paths cut on contour. We've got a Mame sapote, Orlinia, lychee, more bananas, more soursop, a Meyer lemon. We've got a few spots that will be open for mangosteen in the future. So we're kind of planning ahead for those. As we pan around to this side, we've got another ulu, a different variety over on that side. We'll be putting in more white sapote, a different variety of avocado. So a lot of open space still to go. And then show you a couple of exciting things over here. Oh, we did get some black pepper. So we'll be making black pepper soon. Our Australian finger lime. Excited about that. And then this was our star fruit. So this is again one of the first things we planted because we knew it would fruit quickly. And lo and behold, we've got some star fruit down in there. So we're pretty excited. We're hoping at least one or two of those will hang on. And we'll get our first star fruit this year. As we pan back up the hill there, got a little Suriname cherry, some lilikoi on the fence, and then this will kind of take us back up to about where we started. So, thanks for joining us. If you have questions about anything or helpful comments, suggestions, throw those in the comments section. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. We'll have more updates. Probably doing an update like every season now that things are a little bit more established, and we'll keep you kind of informed of any other smaller interesting projects we do. But we appreciate you joining us here at Ina Bear Farm. Aloha.